Namaste everyone, welcome. Okay, today is a final step towards the Samadhi that we are begin our journey from actually Yama, Nema, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, and here we are with 8th rung, which is the 8th limb of the Ashtanga Yoga called Samadhi. Samadhi, it has many translations. Oneness or reach the enlightenment or the highest state of consciousness. But more, I would say, like, what I felt from my study and what I felt, it makes more sense to me that since I came from an artistic background, absorption makes me feel like sharing as Samadhi. So because I had that experience as an artist earlier, being on the stage with the music and choreography, performing in front of the thousands of audience, when I off stage and I see myself, everything is like finishes just like that. And I also felt like, wow, I can see the music in my body. So that's one of the example. I felt like absorption kind of can give that oneness, that you bring all the elements and everything, that you became as one. Well, let's just start, see what happens. Okay, so Samadhi has two words in it. Sama means equanimity. Equanimity, like same, or in is intellect. So when you reach a equanimity state with your intellect, and that is Samadhi. That's mostly, most of the translation as you saw. And also, another way of expressing what Samadhi means is a complete attention. Complete attention towards what? As we learned from sense withdrawal, pratyahara, dharana, concentration, dhyana, meditation or sustained concentration or sustained attention. So in this 8th limb, you will be like you became one with it, like you became as one, absorption. And that's what it is. So it is, I would say, it is hard for me to share that feeling. As I've seen from my experience and from the studies that I did, it mostly, you're the one to experience it. It is like the time just flies, or you don't even know what time is it, or you don't even know who, where, and when. It is kind of like a transcendental meditation. There's many ways of expressing to say about this Samadhi. And one more important thing, that there are many types of Samadhi. Many types. From my talks, from the podcast, I can share with you that I did two. One with object, the other one is without object, called Samprajnata Samadhi or Asamprajnata Samadhi. And they have like subdivisions, like it's more than like around 10. So if you're really interested about the different states of Samadhi and how you practice, I think you have to go through the Yoga Sutras and also some scriptures that you can read, you can understand better, because it's a great deal, I would say. So, but we're not going to go into the great deal now. I'll just give you kind of an information so that you can do your personal study. Once again, we are discussing the 8th rung, the final step of the Ashtanga Yoga based on the Patanjali Yoga Sutras. So, repeat after me from the chapter 3rd, Vibhuti Pada, 3rd verse. Are you ready? Okay. Tat eva artha matra nirbhasham swarupa shunyam eva Samādhi. It is a pretty long one. So if you recite in a meter way, it kind of all the Samdhi all goes together in Sanskrit. So I'll recite to you, but you don't have to repeat after me unless you want to do your own practice. So Tada eva artha matra nirbhasham swarupa shunya eva samadhi. So it is a, yeah, that's how you recite it. But anyway, so the translation is, Samadhi is when that same meditation, if I pause here, when that same meditation, the seventh one you learn in the dhyana, sustained concentration or sustained attention towards the object, idea, sound, or a thought that you are meditating upon, a Krishna, a Jesus, a Allah, or anything that you believe in, religiously, spiritually, object, a candle, or something that you really focus on. So when that same meditation shines forth, like you completely in the object, like you constantly staying in it, forth as the shining of the object alone, as if devoid of form. So it's like you both are kind of like merged together. This like it comes together as one and became absorption. Translation by Edwin Bryant, by Yoga Sutras Patanjali, so which I mostly study that book actually. So you can see this is like effortless. Okay, I tell you, as I mentioned earlier, like being on the stage as a performer, as an artist, sometimes I take the choreography, let's say I've learned like 20 minutes, so I perform the longest one is like 75 minutes to 90 minutes choreography in 2015. I changed almost 14 costumes and I felt like 14 minutes. But if it comes to yoga, sometimes you don't even feel. So the experience is like, sometimes you might be like, you almost like experiencing I don't know, like everything stops. Everything's like kind of, it's not a good feeling. For some people, like people share with me in my lecture today, the feeling is like everything is like frozen or something. It's kind of like a death experience almost, but it is not. It's like this, the higher level of this meditation practice. And when it became effortless, it'll became into as absorbed as one. And that's where you be or being in the very moment. And the seer called Purusha, which is based on the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, translated the Purusha, that one he's reciting, he's the only sees. He just sees. And everything is just dissolve itself and you absorb in a complete moment now. So the Samadhi state is when the meditation become effortless, you experience that state that when you reach with the equanimity state of intellect, both comes together. Then you attain Samadhi. Another translation for Samadhi is enlightenment. If you're looking at Gautama Siddhartha, which is Buddha, he's an enlightened being. Buddha means the one who is enlightened. So you can see like there are many ways to express about Samadhi. And it is a very advanced practice. It's not just going to come like that. Well, since I get to that point, I would like to share here. Samadhi doesn't just come of itself. It takes practice. It takes practice. Yama, niyama, as it goes, like you can see the later, like it takes time, one at a time. Internal behavior, external behavior, breathing, choosing an object. A lot of work to do. Really a lot of work to do. And what happens that Samadhi is the result of nothingness and consciousness. Nothingness and consciousness. So it's like almost nothing exists. As I mentioned earlier, you became a part of it. Like a runner or an athlete in Olympic train for a very long time, constantly. You can feel the euphoria when they're doing a certain thing in their practice. Or a musician, or playing a violin, or playing a piano, or a drums, or a guitar. Or a person who's doing yoga practice. When you see them, they look like effortless because the long time practice. So when it became effortless in your meditation, that will become that oneness. You completely absorbed in that object, idea, and sound. So that is, for my own interpretation, in an artistic way, as a normal being, and also as a yoga practitioner, you can see which one suits. And the most important thing is you need to have love towards to it. I know in yogic way it's about like do's, don'ts and all, but for me, in a more to reach this modern life, something that you love to do, or you always find the time is like just goes off. Spending your time with your loved one, something that you love to do, anything, even cooking a normal, anything, or you're going to, let's say you're building stuff or anything, time just goes off. Or you're making movies, or you're performing, you're an artist or anything. If you're in that circle, you know what I'm talking about, the time, because you're just in it and you absorb with it. So remember to listen to the podcast. I told you, Samprajnata Samadhi, Samprajnata Samdhi, the same channel name called VK the Artist, so that you can find me in Spotify, Apple, Anchor, many, like 6 channels around. Maybe I'll put the down link below on this video so you can look at it. So I would like to go to some certain important topic, which is a little bit linked to the mindfulness, because we have come from the 7th step, which is meditation, dhyana. So it's kind of linked to samadhi. How the monkey mind, monkey mind is what the Buddhist says mostly. In the samadhi state, since it's an equanimity, it's if you reach that equanimate state with your intellectual, that is samadhi, right? So when you reach that, what happens in our mind is, if you look at this section here, there's no ego, there's no I, there's no talking, it's complete peace and quiet. There's no doubts. The hindrance of the mind, the dark elephant that you've seen in the 7th dhyana. If you didn't see that video, just go back and click dhyana, the 7th limb, so you know what I'm talking about. So there's a link in it, there's a journey. There's an inward journey. So, not doing, there's no me. Means basically there's no I, there's no ego, and there's no you. You means either object or thought or anything, because it's like you merge, you became merged, all the elements absorb together. And no more monkey mind. Just like if you see the brain, the person sits being completely free, and that oneness and absorbed within the space and time, and the monkey runs all this baggage of this let's say anger, desire, whatever you have, this crude ideas, anything, all this procrastination, laziness, fear, anything, stuff, everything just runs away. So this attention is basically the frontier brain, it's like attention, the monkey mind, it's just like living. So we know that what we are, so when the mind is calm. So that's what this shows up here. So there's no more monkey mind. And you don't identify yourself. I am this. I am that. I am going to do this. I am not. There's no like this. So the attention of this completely inward. And also can be external, but it's in a more wise way. And since we're talking about that attention, that senses and all this now, I would like to add a quote from the Bhagavad Gita. It is from chapter 254 verse. I'll recite to you. Arjuna uvacha. Arjuna uvacha means Arjuna said, Sthita prajnasya ka bhasha samadhistya Keshava. Arjuna said, O Keshava, O Krishna, the intellect, the charioteer metaphor, the intellect. It's in the battlefield, the war field. He said, what is the disposition of one who is situated in divine consciousness? Divine consciousness can be Krishna's consciousness or the samadhi, that the idea that you choose the certain towards the thought or the sound or anything. Arjuna, he chose Krishna. So he asked, And but here, when Krishna answers, the one, Sthita Prajna, the one, the person, the one who is always balances in wisdom, the one who never shakes. Shakes. For example, you're in a meditation. You close your eyes and you're meditating. You're meditating, and you try to meditate, you try to focus on your breath, maybe you try to focus on an object, but you can't focus. And it does happen to me too. I'm not saying I'm like, oh wow, I'm an enlightened guy, I'm already like, I attained Samadhi. You only can experience it. You can't explain about this feeling. As I said, it has a different state. In India, we often say Samadhi means like the person who actually died or dead. So that's a respected way of saying. So it means he's like literally in peace. But in yogic text, it's about that oneness, like equanimity state with the body, mind, and soul. He became like merged with that idea, and then so you won't see that person, just like he became as one and absorbed. So if you take this quote, the one who is balanced with the wisdom, that person never shakes. He or she never shakes because he or she knows where it's coming from. So I highly recommend everyone to read this beautiful book, Bhagavad Gita. And it has the different translations too. Earlier I showed you guys, but I'm going to show you guys again. It's this, Ekanath Eshwaran. It is most of the yogas that I suggest, if you're studying Ashtanga yoga, not just a postural practice, I think Gita is highly recommended to read for every yoga practitioner, and also people who are dealing with you have like a lot of questions, all the answers in there. So I highly recommend to read the Bhagavad Gita. So what happens as we practice all our Ashtanga yoga path one at a time, that'll like this end of struggle with our mind. Although it may not, but it'll help you to deal in your practice, in your regular life, and also as a meditator and yoga practitioner. You have the way. It's like a guide map, as I told you. So, where mind dwells in the object of meditation without disturbance, that becomes like in the zone. Have you ever felt, as I said earlier, certain in the moment, have you ever felt you're in the zone? It might, as I said, it might feel a little bit of like scary, almost like experience kind of like death. So that is like kind of, can say that you're absorbed. As I said, you don't even know the time. You don't even know where you are. It's kind of like that oneness, that absorbed feeling. Also, it's kind of like Samadhi. And I give you a better explanation about Samadhi. What is exactly Samadhi's state? Samadhi is a state of profound and utterly absorptive contemplation of the absolute that is undisturbed by desire, like anger or any other ego generated by the thought or emotion. It is a state of joyful calm or even of rapture and beatitude. It means the supreme blessedness, in which one maintains one's full mental alertness. This is very important. In which one maintains one's full mental alertness and equity, means sharpness. When I look at a certain student or certain performer in my group, very often, or people around me, even when I'm like having a conversation, I can see how sharp they are. It is like having a grip on their subject when they speak. And when they speak very clear. So their thoughts, speech, and action is absorbed. So you want it like, this sharpness. So the same thing in Samdhi. So as I said, people, you can apply this Ashtanga yoga in many ways, not just in a yogic path. In many ways you can apply it. So I would say that's all for now. And I would like to share a quote so that we will understand what exactly Samadhi means. Samadhi is the eighth and final step of the absorption of the Ashtanga yoga from Sri Patanjali. In the meditative process, before the self released from itself ignorance and enters the ultimate condition of kaivalya, aloneness. So if you notice that selfness is released, and especially the self-ignorance, and we say in yoga avidya, most of the things we face problems, most of the things we do things by this ignorance. Ignorance can take away from us, from the light, from our shine. And that's why you see, the shining of the object is alone, but it's emerged together, and that's absorption. So it is very important for you to not to be ignorant, not to be disturbed, continue meditating, continue practice. On the next topic, I'm probably going to discuss about samyama. It's about the inward journey. So now we are in Samadhi. If you step back to the seventh rung, it's dhyana, and then the sixth one is dharana. So Samadhi, dhyana, dharana, they're kind of like goes together. They're the inward focused practice. Probably I might give you some more tips about it. So you can choose from yama, niyamas, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. And also kriya yoga within the yama, niyamas. And also this inward journey, samyama, which is the next topic. So I would say, thank you very much for joining with me. And I hope this information is helpful. In the yoga practice, it's about being. So it's one of the samadhi too. We all are human beings, but we can be well-being. And this is what my message to everyone. So be. Being. Go do your practice. I'll see you in the next session. Samyama, the inward journey. For now, I would say, Om Shanti 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 Hi Hari Om Taschat. Namaste and bye for now.